also welcome Anand Vishwa Gurukul Junior College Principal, Honorable Dr. Seema Hardikar Madam. I welcome all teaching and non-teaching staff and all the students of AVG. I welcome the press reporter present here. I would like to welcome all the guests, parents, students, all the attendees who joined online to attend this program. And as per our traditional rituals, we begin today's program with the lighting of lamp. I request all the dignitaries to proceed for the lighting of lamp. Lighting a lamp before a ceremony spreads divine grace. The lamp also shows everyone who is present how to rise upwards and dispel darkness. Goddess Saraswati is a symbol of knowledge, music, art, wisdom, and nature. Thank you, everyone. As we all know, India celebrates 75th year of independence, and we celebrate Azadi ka Amrit Mahotsav. It commemorates 75 years of progressive India and the glorious history of its people, culture, and achievements. On this occasion, Anand Vishwa Gurukul Junior College, in collaboration with National Center for Science Communicator, organized a program on the topic Science and Technology for Societal Developments. So before I call our principal, I would like to say something about our institute. Sharda Education Society started Anand Vishwa Gurukul in 2008 with 40 students. Today we provide education from KG to PG with almost 4,000 students. We have pre-primary and primary section, secondary and junior college section. In 2014-15, ACS started AVG Senior Night College with the motto Earn While Learn. AVG College of Law, where 3 years and 5 years LLB and 2 years LLM courses are offered. For working people, Yashwantrao Chauhan Maharashtra Open University offers the courses in journalism as well as BCom, MCom, and MBA. Identify the need of the time. Last year, ACS started paramedical courses and fire safety certificate and diploma courses under skill development program. Now, I invite Anand Vishwa Gurukul Junior College Principal, Dr. Seema Hardikar Madam, to brief us about today's program.
Good morning, everyone. Today we are so fortunate that we could have such stalwarts of science and technology. I'm feeling myself so privileged to share stage with these people Honorable Dr. Aniruddha Pandit Sir, Vice Chancellor, Institute of Chemical Technology, Mumbai. Dr. Siddhi Vinayak Barve, Director, KIT Scientific Research Center, Mulund, Mumbai. Honorable Mr. Vitthal Nadkarni, former Senior Editor, Times of India, and the person who is instrumental in getting all these people here, Mr. Suhas Vinayak Satam, General Secretary, National Center for Science Communicator, Mumbai. Our Sharda Education Society's President, Mr. Vilas Tushe Sir, and Secretary, Dr. Pradeep Dhawan Sir, they will be joining virtually. Honorable Treasurer, Mr. Akshar Parasnis Sir, my dear students, all the teachers present here, NCC cadets, and all the students who have joined virtually, a warm welcome. We all know about, because I had forwarded you, Dr. Pandit, there is no need for his introduction. We all know him, and you must have gone through his exemplary work in the chemical engineering education and research, especially the most talked about hand pump based water disinfection. We all know about it. That India is progressively developing in the field of science and technology. Other day I had spoken about 5G based applications, drone technology, then advances in defense. But there are many platforms our Indian government is providing to young children for the development of their approach towards science and technology. You must have heard about EWS, that is Engage with Science. Have you heard about it? It is an interactive platform for teachers and students to have scientific approach, to learn the teaching and learning science with lot of fun. Then there is IRIS, that is Initiative for Research and Innovations in STEM. The IRIS is a national fair which nurtures the science and scientific research among the youth innovators. There are Smart India Hackathon. Have you heard about it? Smart India Hackathon. It is another program which is, it develops the concept of method of science and the problem solving ability among the students. Then Children's Science Congress. You must be a member of, many of students, you must be a member of it. This it develops the principle of learning by doing. So there are many platforms, many activities our country is offering us. It is up to you that what you get it out of it. And today's webinar, we have completed 75 years of independence, and as I said, that progressively developments have happened in the field of science and technology. I'm so looking forward to listen to Dr. Pandit. I'm very sure that today's experience will be definitely enriching and it will enhance the knowledge in the field of science and technology. As I told sir, that I was so hesitant that we are having such a young crowd, and I'm very thankful to him that he has accepted our invitation. If we talk about Mr. Vitthal Nadkarni, though he is from Mr. Journalism, but just now he told me that his field is botany. So they are all, they are unique in their fields. Mr. Siddhi Vinayak Barve, we don't have to tell him about him. That, on the space day we have seen how, nicely he had, given us guidance on that day. So I welcome sir once again, and I'm looking forward to listen to you and a great session ahead. Thank you very much.
Thank you, madam. This program is organized in collaboration with National Center for Science Communicators, and today, General Secretary NCSC Mumbai, Honorable Mr. Suhas Naik Satam sir is present here, enriched with experience extending for more about 35 years in the field of astronomy, with particular reference to communication skills and outreach activities at the premier institution, namely Nehru Planetarium, Nehru Center, Mumbai. He has organized more than 500 topical public lectures on astronomy and space science by eminent scientists from India and abroad. He has conferred the Pillar of Hindustani Society Award 2014-15 for Astronomy Awareness by the Chinese Deputy Consul General Yulong Yan on behalf of the Trans-Asian Chamber of Commerce and Industry in Mumbai in the year 2015. Now I invite Mr. Suhas Naik Satam sir to share his views.
I think good morning, everybody. Are you with me today? Yeah. We are in the celebration mode kind of thing. I'm going to march ahead with it. I'm very, very happy to be extending a warm welcome because the atmosphere seems to be very cooler over here. In fact, as the time advances, we'll be having more cooler kind of thing. Okay, and well, friends, I said to you, it's a celebration. You know, everybody, how the film industry runs and how, on what basis? Film industry runs on the basis of entertainment. Okay, and if the film industry runs on the principle of entertainment, then the science industry has to run in which principle? Innovation. We are here. In fact, I looking at you people, in fact, like I thank COVID, in fact. Okay, COVID has given us different opportunity to us, and we at the National Center, in fact, like our main mandate is to communicate excitement of science to the younger generation, and we are very happy to have you with you today, in fact, like. And you are lucky people, in fact, like you are observing. I don't know among the audience anybody can raise in his hand who are born before 1947. Nobody, in fact. Don't you think you are very lucky? We are here when the India is completing 75 years of its independence. We are going to witness it, in fact. And I'm sure when the India is going to complete 100 years, that's a century, I won't be there. But I know you will be definitely going to be there, in fact. Friends, definitely this is kind of things we are here. And if you happen to talk about the legacy of science and technology which India had, it goes back to 1947, and we had, yes, thank you. So 1947, we have a Prime Minister, Panditji, in fact, like, friends, we are again of a different kind of thing. If the country runs because of the political will, and Panditji has a political will, in fact, like, that's the reason he had an excellent rapport with the two scientists, in fact, like, young mind at the time, okay, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, with Sarabhai and Dr. Bhabha, created a wonderful institute in India, kind of thing. Then I said to you, in fact, like, we have a temple of modern scientific foundations in India, in fact, like, you just go to BRC and stand there, in fact, you realize, okay, yes, we are in the modern India. We are a developed nation, okay, and we have developing nation. Friends, I can go on or something like that, and I don't want to come between you and the today's speaker are going to exactly excite your mind, kind of thing. And can I just wanted to ask a simple question before the lectures? How many amongst you want to pursue their higher education in science? Kindly raise your hand. Don't, because I know your father and mother are not yours, because you are always guided, you are always by your parental pressure. Okay, you are fine. And I wanted to pose the same questions. You think of, after listening to Dr. Pandit, you are really going to change your mindset. Okay, friends, I said to you, this is celebrations. Let's celebrate India's independence differently. And madam, we are definitely grateful to you for giving this kind of things to differently. And the people who are on the other side, on the virtual mode, wish you very, very please be awake for next 45 minutes. In fact, like advantage, I can see these people here. Okay, they will remain awake, but you have to be remain awake on the other side of the platform. Wish you all the best in your future endeavors. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Satam sir. We are very thankful for your suggestions and valuable guidance to make this program a grand success. We are very fortunate and feel honored to have Dr. Anirudh Pandit sir as chief guest for today's program. Now I request Professor Sagar Jadhav sir to please introduce today's chief guest, Honorable Dr. Anirudh Pandit sir.
Thank you, sir. Good morning to Honorable Dais and all present here today. First of all, I am very much thankful to our Honorable Principal, Dr. Seema Ardigar Madam, who gave me an opportunity, and it's a great pleasure for me to introduce our today's chief guest, Honorable Vice Chancellor of Institute of Chemical Technology, ICT Mumbai, Dr. Aniruddha Pandit sir, who is going to talk to us about science and technology for societal developments. Dr. Aniruddha Balchandra Pandit was born on 7 December 1957 in Mumbai, Maharashtra. He earned his BTech chemical degree from Institute of Technology, Banaras Hindu University in 1980 and joined for his PhD technical degree in University of Department of Chemical Technology, now UICT, University of Mumbai. During his PhD, he worked from 1980 to 1984. He also worked as an associate lecturer in the same department and earned his PhD in 1984 under the guidance of Professor J.B. Joshi. From 1984 till 1990, he worked in the University of Cambridge, University of United Kingdom, as a research associate with the Professor J.F. Davidson, working in the area of bubble breakup and designed multi-phase reactors. He developed many novel designs of gas liquid contractors and also developed new impeller designs and proposed hydrodynamic cavitation as an alternative means of physico-chemical and biological transformation. After returning to India in 1990, he joined UICT as a UGC research scientist B grade level and was subsequently promoted scientist C grade, professor grade level in the 1996. He was instrumental in starting a major activity and program in the area of hydrodynamic cavitation. Dr. Pandit has been singularly responsible to purpose, promote and apply the phenomena of hydrodynamic cavitation for incentivization of physical and chemical processing applications. He has successfully exploited the cavitation phenomena for a variety of operations such as crystallization, emulsification, nanoparticles synthesis, and processes such as estratification, oxidation, water inspection for potable water, etc. He has been internationally recognized for his contribution, and his research group is eagerly sought after the international universities for collaboration. His current work in hand-pump-based water de-infections and revolutionary in the nature of and will be extremely useful in the developing countries. His involvement in the ICT energy group has resulted into many energy efficient potential processes for cooking, solar steam generations, and mathematical modeling of smokeless solid fuel chullas stoves, leading to thermal efficiencies in excess of 55%. A unique creativity approach of using fundamental knowledge covered with the simple, elegant experiment has resulted into novel cavitational reactors. Professor Pandit has authored over 315 publications, 4 books and 10 chapters, and has 16 patents with over 9,665 cavitations as a Scopus web media research and is on the editorial board of several international scientific journals. He has successfully guided 36 PhDs and 64 masters students so far. In addition to his research contribution, Dr. Pandit has contributed to innovation in teaching at the graduate and undergraduate levels, demonstration experiments for elaborating a physical principle of many chemical engineering operations. He is actively involved in working with the committees in the area of harnessing solar energy with the tribal population in extending the chemical energy principles for dyeing of farm, forest, product and water disinfection of potable waters. He is currently involved setting up ICT Center for Chemical Engineering Education and Research to exploit the principle of chemical engineering in nuclear and allied energy engineering technologies, including its patented exploitation of cavitation phenomena for water disinfections, which is beneficial to the international scientific community and masses in general. Once again, on behalf of all here who are the part of Anand Vishnu Gurukul family, I welcome you, sir. And sir, your presence will always give positive inspiration to us in future days also. Now again, I hand over the control of this mic to Professor Sachin, sir. Over to you, sir. Thank you all.
Thank you, Sagar sir. May I now request Honorable Treasurer of Sharda Education Society, Shri Parasnis sir, to felicitate today's chief guest, Dr. Aniruddha Pandit sir. Shawl, fruit basket, watercolor portrait painting, which is made by commercial artist and our art teacher, Mr. Yogesh Pandit sir. I call upon the stage Mr. Yogesh Pandit sir. Yes, please. So very good watercolor portrait painting made by Yogesh Pandit sir.
It's a great coincidence. See, our drawing teacher, yes, actually is the creator of this picture. He is Pandit. It is being given to Pandit.
Pandit sir.
मान्यवरांना कृपया विनंती आहे की आपण आसन ठेवा. नमस्कार. पंडित सर, खरं तर आज मी माझंच नाव घेतोय. खरं तर 96-97चा एक काळ होता ज्यावेळी मला हे पेंटिंग्स करण्याचं थोडंसं आमची थोडीशी तयारी चालू होती. तर मी आपल्याबद्दल बऱ्यापैकी सगळं वाचायला लागलो होतो आणि त्याच्यामध्ये एक गोष्ट मला म्हणजे मी त्याच्याबद्दल रिलेट झालो. कारण 96-97च्या दरम्यानचा काळ होता, खूप स्ट्रगलचा काळ होता आणि हँडपंप म्हणजे आपण त्याला बोरिंग बऱ्याच वेळ म्हणतो, तर बोरिंगवरचं पाणी आम्ही त्या काळी भरत होतो. साधारण सलग 3 वर्ष तो स्ट्रगल. एका घरात जर पुरायला पाहिजे असेल पाणी तर किमान एक 200 लिटर लागतं. तर 200 लिटर पाणी भरण्याची प्रोसेस आणि तो हँडपंप करायचं खूप स्ट्रगलची गोष्ट होती. आणि ज्यावेळी तुमच्याबद्दल हे सगळं वाचलं की लक्षात आलं की खऱ्या अर्थाने कारण हँडपंप बद्दल कोणी विचार नाही करणार. आज महानगरपालिका आणि सगळेच भारतभरात सगळ्यात विचार करतील, पण हँडपंप बद्दल सर तुम्ही विचार केला आणि खूप कारण सर्वसामान्य तर शेवटची जर पाण्याची गरज जर कोण भागवत असेल तर हँडपंप हा भागवतो. आणि त्या मानाने जी आपण मेहनत घेतली आणि त्या क्षणी विचार केला की यस, हे पेंटिंग बनवता आतून बनवायचंय. आणि ते बनवत असताना तो जी महत्वाची गोष्ट आपण जो क्रांतिकारक विचार केला आणि म्हणून तो हँडपंप सुद्धा मी त्याच्या बाजूला केलेला आहे. आणि मला निश्चित आनंद वाटतो की खऱ्या अर्थाने आज गुरुकुल खऱ्या अर्थाने पावन झालं की आपला पदस्पर्श या ठिकाणी लागला. आणि साटम सर धन्यवाद आपल्यासाठी सुद्धा, कारण आपण ही संधी आम्हाला उपलब्ध करून दिली. आणि जाता जाता एकच गोष्ट मी ह्या संदर्भात बोलेन की ज्यांनी माझ्या बाबतीत ही कलेची आवड निर्माण केली ते प्राध्यापक प्रदीप ढवाळ सर, माझ्या सातत्याने मार्गदर्शन करणारे विलासजी ठुसे साहेब आणि आमचे अक्षरजी पारसले सर, सर्व मान्यवरांना धन्यवाद. आणि एकच गोष्ट शेवटच्या सर्व मान्यवरांसाठी बोलेल की ज्यांनी हे साध्य सगळं करून दाखवलं. हौसले हो आदमी के बुलंद, हौसले हो आदमी के बुलंद तो पत्थर भी पिघलते, हौसले हो आदमी के बुलंद तो पत्थर भी पिघलते, पर्वतों के सीने से रास्ते भी निकलते, हार नहीं मानते वही लोग जो जीना जानते, जो जीना जानते. धन्यवाद.
पंडित सर, तुमच्या भावना नक्कीच पेंटिंग मधून तुम्ही व्यक्त केलेल्या आहेत. नाव आय रिक्वेस्ट Honorable Subhash Satam sir to felicitate today's guest, Honorable Dr. Siddhi Vinayak Barve sir, Director at KIT's SRC Mulund. Fruit basket and souvenir. Thank you, sir. Now I request our principal, Honorable Dr. Seema Hardikar madam, to felicitate today's guest, Honorable Mr. Vittal Natkani sir, former senior editor and Food basket. Now I request Parasne sir to felicitate Honorable Mr. Suhas Naik Satam sir, General Secretary NCSC. Thank you, sir. Now it's time to invite today's chief guest, Honorable Dr. Aniruddha Pandit sir, to talk on today's topic, science and technologies in societal development. So please welcome Dr. Aniruddha Pandit sir.
Seema Adikar, Vittal Nadkarni, Suhas Naik Satam, Parvesar, and all young prospective engineers, technologists, accountants, chemists, so on and so forth. When I was asked to give this particular talk, I said to myself that this is a golden opportunity for me to make you aware of what options are available and what, as discussed during the initial introductory phase. Suhas talked about entertainment, and then innovations. I would like to rectify that. There is also a tremendous level of entertainment in innovation. Please remember your childhood when you were exploring something. That exploration was something which was getting innovated for you. You were innovating something, and that was also entertaining you. That was also keeping you busy, keeping you happy. You are enjoying your time in exploring things. Now, exploration is no different than innovations. I'm sure at every point during your young days, before you came to college or school, you would have learned many things on your own. Unfortunately, once you get to the college or school, you are allowed to learn in a structured manner. This is the syllabus, this is the subject, this is the exam which you have to take, and very little time is given to you to explore yourself. In our days, we had school, that's about it, maybe 10 to 4 p.m. And after that, we were never in the house. We were always outside, playing, exploring, looking at nature, learning from nature. Unfortunately, people like you need to be driven out of the house and to be told, go out and play. Enough is with internet, enough of WhatsApp, enough of Facebook. Just go out and play. And the moment you move away from nature, you're losing your sense of exploration, your sense of exploitation, your sense of achievement and learning from nature. Why I say learning from nature? Because nature is the most optimized process which you will ever come across. Meaning, you look at nature, it doesn't waste any resource. Wastage of something becomes a starting material for something else. Right? You take a simple example, you eat food, you excrete, that is converted into compost, that goes back into the soil, you grow something which you eat. So there is a complete circularity in terms of whatever is happening. So nature doesn't use or waste any resources. The only resource it uses is solar energy. That's the only input energy available on this earth. Rest, all the things which you are using have been acquired over a period of millions and billions of years, and we are using it in a manner which is not sustainable. So what you people need to learn or need to think about, every activity in which I am going to be involved, how I can perform that particular activity sustainably. That means you will be able to do that, your children will be able to do that, Your grandchildren will be able to do that, and exactly in the same way as you have been able to do it today. Now that is a way of sustainable practice or sustainable living. And the only way you will be able to learn that is by observing nature. Because nature has survived over so many years. And since my background is chemical engineering, chemical technology, I'm going to use many examples from that particular field, but I will also give many other examples as well. The simple reason is learning one particular subject is never enough. You would have, if that was the case, other subjects would not have been taught to you in the school. You have been taught every subject in the school: botany, physics, mathematics, biology, chemistry, social sciences, environmental engineering. What was the necessity to learn all these subjects? For you to understand that each subject is linked with another one, and if you want to come out with a product and with a process or a process which is sustainable, you require an input coming from all these subjects. You can choose one subject as a main subject, but the input from all the other subjects is essential. So when you do engineering, depending upon the type of engineering you do, mechanical engineering, chemical engineering, civil engineering, you cannot escape learning physics, mathematics. Any engineering will have physics and mathematics. If you have a pathological hatred for chemistry, don't go for chemical engineering. But if you enjoy chemistry as well, then chemical engineering is indeed an excellent option for you. But it combines biology, it combines physics because it's engineering. It combines mathematics and also combines chemistry. So in my opinion, if you ask me, if you haven't decided which branch of engineering you want to go for, then I would suggest you choose a branch, chemical engineering, because after you graduate in chemical engineering has taught you to be master of anything. So chemical engineer essentially is a jack of all trades. So they learn a bit about mechanical engineering, bit about civil engineering, bit about electrical engineering, bit about electronics engineering, bit about biotechnology. So you have been exposed to all this, and then later on at your master's or PhD level, you can choose whatever branch which is to your liking. So what I'm going to do today in the lecture, depending upon how much time I have, how much you feel enthused about it, I can go on talking for hours together, but you tell me, sir, this is enough. We cannot accept it more. Our brains are getting saturated. I know that I enjoy it, and that's why I'm going to disseminate as much as I can to you. It all depends upon what is your level of acceptance. Can you move to the next slide, please? So look at chemical engineering, and generally you see the products of chemical engineering. You see petroleum refineries are there, plastic. I mean, there is no single moment in your life where chemical engineer has not contributed. You wake up in the morning, use a toothpaste or a tooth powder, use a brush. That is chemical engineering. Polymers are made by chemical engineers. Toothpaste is made by chemical engineers. The tube in which the toothpaste is filled is also made by chemical engineers. The mattress on which you sleep, polyurethane, is made by chemical engineers. Right? Metallurgical operations or wood, adhesive, fevicol is made by chemical engineers. So you cannot escape chemical engineering. So these are some of the products which chemical engineering or chemical engineer has contributed to. But what is the general perception of a chemical engineer in the world or in our country itself? Next slide. This is what the perception is. Chemical engineers are the ones who are contributing to the global warming. They are contributing to the emissions of toxic gases. They are creating this huge plastic waste. They are the one which are polluting our water sources. They are responsible for oil spills. They are responsible for this variety of accidents which you see in the and read in the newspaper. Yes, that is true. But every activity, every professional activity is associated with the risk. It all depends upon how you practice that particular activity, how you practice your profession. And that is where, if you practice it without the knowledge, then obviously all these things are likely to happen. But if you practice it with a complete understanding and knowledge of the sustainable nature of your activity, then it is definitely possible for you to do more good than bad. So we are the people who need to practice it responsibly. And if we are in a position to practice it responsibly, what are the outcomes? Just go to the next slide. We develop medicines, right? We have biomaterials. If you see on the right hand side, a ear is there. Now this ear is essentially synthetically grown ear on a petri dish. So it is essentially a tissue culture. You start with the skin tissue of your own or a cartilage of your own body part, and you grow it. Is like basically artificial child which is grown outside the fetus, or surrogate where you take the insemination carrying out. Here, this is developed to such a level now that you can use 3D printing and devise body parts and convert these body parts by coating it with tissues, and it is made of a material initially which is biodegradable. It slowly dissolves and it integrates itself with the body. So the biomaterials, which such as tooth implants, if you see there, food processing application, the bread which you eat, the process of fermentation which you carry out in the bread, the process of baking which you carry out in the bread, all these are the practices which you will learn in chemical engineering. There is another definition of chemical engineering which is also quite popular. People say that chemical engineers are nothing but they are glorified cooks. Whatever operation which you carry out in kitchen, these operations are learned and taught in chemical engineering, not necessarily keeping kitchen in mind, but keeping industrial and large scale utility. You can imagine making a cup of tea for 2 people and making a cup of tea of 200 people involves different equipments, different methodologies, and that is what is taught in chemical engineering. So water and wastewater treatment, that is water which you get, which is potable. That means it is disinfected. If you go to Bandung, you will find a water treatment plant where the water which is pumped, which is hydraulic engineering, again part of it, chemical engineering, where the water from Bhadsa, water from Powai, from Bihar is pulled to Bandung where it is treated and then distributed. And you use this potable water for toilet flushing. It is not really required. And that is where the concept and understanding of sustainability will come into picture. Let's move on to the next slide. They have also contributed to development of fertilizers and pesticides. Now, without the development of fertilizers, India would still be importing food item. We became food-wise self-sufficient, and now we are in a position to export food, and that is only food grain, I mean, and that is only possible because of the development of fertilizers. Development of pesticides allow you to protect the produce, as a result of which it is now made available throughout the year. Previously, in olden days, maybe 25, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, you would get only seasonal material. Now you get all the fruits throughout the year, because if it is not grown in your location, it can be grown in some other location, it can be transported, and the thing is made available to you. Because they are able to protect those, they are able to preserve that particular food. And that preservation involves the usage of insecticides, pesticides. Of course, you need to wash, clean before you consume it. Fruit preservation, milk processing and all the products of milk. Again, classical chemical engineering operation. Collect the milk, then process the milk. You need to also make the milk pasteurize, sterilize the milk, then it is packed in plastic pouches, then it is distributed. All these are operations which involve engineering and sometimes chemical engineering. Next, please. Let us move away from the cities to a rural part, where you have jaggery production, classical chemical engineering operation. You have sugar mills using alcohol, production of alcohol, distilleries, again a chemical engineering operation, or I would say biochemical engineering operation, compost making and water disinfection. You see this particular Tata Swachh, the photograph which you see. One of my PhD students had a big role to play in developing this particular device, Tata Swachh. And he tested the functionality of this particular device by actually collecting the gutter water, putting the gutter water on top, collected the water and to check whether the water is potable or not. Only when he was satisfied that even a gutter water can be purified to potable standard, then only Tata brought this out in the market. Right? He still works with me, by the way. Again, biogas, making of this particular biogas, composting biogas, again, a biochemical engineering operation. Next, please. So in all of this, this is the only subject where accounting is taught. And you do financial accounting. Similar to you doing financial accounting, you do material accounting. That is what we call it as material balance. You do energy accounting, and that is what is called as energy balance. Once you understand the basic principles of balance, be it money, be it material, be it energy, you have learned the basic objectives of doing the accounting and the methods to do accounting of different items, of different activities. When you actually do any activity, you also say that I consume a certain quantity of food. Now, what happens to this particular food? The food gets digested. What do you mean it gets digested? It actually gets burned without the flame, of course. It gets burned, and you all know oxidation is an exothermic process. Right? Any oxidation is exothermic process. So digestion of food, combustion of food within your stomach produces energy, which is what allows you to maintain your body temperature. If you do not eat, then obviously there is no food available for digestion, there is no carbon available for combustion, there is no hydrogen available for combustion, the body temperature will drop. Now, if you sit in a room without eating anything, out and sit in a room like this, which is maintained at maybe 24 degrees centigrade, your body temperature is 37 degrees centigrade, you are constantly losing heat to the surroundings because the energy will always flow from higher temperature to lower temperature, correct? So as a result of which your body temperature is 37, outside temperature is 24, you will continuously go on losing heat. And if you don't eat anything, beyond a certain point when you don't have anything to burn, you will start losing weight, right? If you don't eat anything. If you did eat more, body thinks of the fact that today I'm able to eat, I'm getting food. I don't know what is going to happen tomorrow. So I might as well store certain amount of food, which in a case of emergency, I'll be able to use it. And that is how you start putting on weight. And you want to take care of that particular weight, you carry out activity. And this activity consumes calories, more calories. On an average, on a daily basis, if you don't do any physical activity, you are dissipating energy which is equivalent to a 60-watt bulb. So imagine 60-watt bulb multiplied by 24 hours. You are losing approximately 1200 to 1400 kilocalories per day. So if you don't eat at least that much, you will not be able to maintain yourself. And on an average, we eat about 2000 kilocalories per day. And people who are growing, people like you, also require additional energy for the growth, and you consume about 2200 to 2400 kilocalories per day. But what is this operation? This operation is a simple combustion operation. This is a simple balance. You eat something, you convert it, you burn it, and that is what this is, a balance of material as well as energy. Next, please. Next slide, please. Yeah. So all these operations which you see here, which are taught in chemical engineering, do you see these operations being familiar? Filtration, fluid transport, fluidization, evaporation. Ladies, can you tell me, have you done something like this ever in the kitchen? I can tell you, filtration, you filter tea, it's a filtration. Fluid transport, you take water or fill up water in bottles before you put it in the fridge or matka, that's a fluid transport. Solid fluidization, you may not know it as a solid fluidization, but when you are making shira or suji, you actually roast the rava, correct? Roasting the rava is essentially lifting it and drawing it, lifting it and drawing it back again. That is actually fluidizing it. You are making it behave like a fluid. So all these operations, which are standard unit operations, which are taught in chemical engineering, are operations which you actually practice without the name. What chemical engineers have done is only it has given a formal name to it. That's it. Because you need to understand the basic physics behind those operations to be carried out. Any transformation, be it chemical, physical, biological, is always associated with the transfer of energy. And you can't just make tea without heating it. Right? What are you doing? When you are heating the tea leaves in the water, you are extracting tea. You see extraction out there, right? You concentrate something, evaporate something. You want to make basundi from milk, you need to remove water from it. So that's the process of evaporation which is there. Drying, you carry out, of course, you put it in the solar, this thing to dry out. Drying operation is carried out. Crystallization, yes, of course, you crystallize out. Sometimes you store honey, you find that the honey, you will find crystals in it. This is naturally again. You can also make it outside, meaning actually control this particular operation. Similarly, there are many chemical transformations. Next, please. And these are again, I'm sure those who have learned chemistry up to 12th standard, 10th standard would know all these: oxidation, nitration, hydrogenation, sulfonation, alkylation, all these organic chemistry reactions you know, and understanding of that is equally important if you are trying to carry out chemical engineering or chemistry or biological or physical transformation. Next, please. So I'm going to concentrate on these few aspects of it: health, soil productivity, crop and fruit storage, agro waste utilization, water cleaning, energy efficiency, waste management. It's a huge topics. Each topic I can talk for an hour on this topic, but I'm not going to. The only plan which I want to make and offer to you is make you aware that what options and opportunities exist in front of you. The first and foremost important criteria is to explore, to question, try to understand. During my younger days, my father used to call me as a Todford engineer. That means anything new came into the house, I would try to open it up. Father had given me one morning, you open it up, whatever, you dismantle it, you assemble it, but I'm not going to buy a new one. If you spoil it, it's up to you, you'll learn to live without it. But that allows you to explore things. We were just discussing before the start of this particular lecture that people are afraid of failures because unfortunately in our society, failure is taken in such a bad way. Failure is never looked at as a mode of learning. You look at yourself when you learn to walk, how many times you fall before you learn to walk? The same process should continue. The same process is continuing throughout your life. But if you say that I'm not going to try it out because I'm going to fail, you will not learn anything new. So don't be afraid of the failure. Failure is first stepping stone for the success. And you say that you have failed only when you stop trying. You should continue to try. Only when you stop trying, you call yourself a failure. Otherwise, you keep saying that I'm trying to do something. Whether you get there or not, forget about that. Next, please. Right, so rural applications, many of these applications, I have this particular presentation on the desktop out here. You're free to distribute it to anyone, everyone. If you have any questions, maybe after a year or so, I'll come again and try to answer this question depending upon how much time we have today. And I'll try to address some of the important questions, important as per me. But at the same time, if you want to learn and understand something more which you are not in a position to understand, which I am telling you, please feel free to stop me in the middle of the lecture and I'll try to explain. Next, please. Next. Why solid burning is so important? Now, people who have had some exposure to the rural surroundings, anybody keep visiting their native place? Are there a native place where things are still done in an old-fashioned way? Anybody has a native place which they like visiting, which they love visiting? Yes, please tell me. Nasik. But Nasik is a mid-sized town. In the Nasik itself, there are many small villages nearby. There are, correct? Right. So what I'm trying to do is, many a times, even though in spite of the fact that Prime Minister has promoted Ujjwala scheme, where the gas is being made available, that is LPG is made available, even now 70 to 80% of the population of India relies on non-commercial fuels. That is wood, cow dung, biomass briquettes, so on and so forth. As a result of which, it is extremely important for you to understand how we can efficiently burn it. Those in the rural, a real rural part or tribal part where there is no electricity, no LPG availability, you will find that the houses are filled with smoke. The smoke is inhaled, which results into many respiratory diseases, which requires treatment, which cost you something. And who's going to bear the cost? You, me, or the taxpayers, or the future generation is going to pay for the cost. Because of the large population in India, India's population is almost 16% of the total world population. As a result of which, we need to have food being cooked for these 16% of 130 crores of populations, at least 2 square meals a day. And Indian cooking, you all know, you must have seen the various channels which are promoting cookery channels which are there, right? And I get so annoyed with the cookery channels because they only bother about the taste. They only bother about the looks, but they do not, thank you, they do not bother about the energy efficiency which is efficiently cooked. Now you see any of these channels and you will find that they will tell you, then you put this in the pressure cooker and then allow 5 whistles to go, 3 whistles to go, 10 whistles to go. Without really understanding the fact that it is not a whistle cooker, it is a pressure cooker. every whistle you allow to go, there is a 10% decrease in the thermal efficiency of the process. So what you really need to do, you can start practicing it. You remember that when I was operating it on the full scale, full flame, it took me 7 minutes for 5 whistles to glow, right? Just keep that time in mind. And the moment you start the whistle dancing, that means that it's about to give a whistle, you reduce the flame to minimum. Continue to cook it for next 7 minutes. Switch off the flame. Don't open the cooker. Let the pressure be utilized for cooking practices, and you will save 50% of the energy. Otherwise, you would be using it. It is a pressure cooker. If you allow, and you all know, you have heard the elevation in the boiling point. As the pressure increases, the boiling point also increases. So you are carrying out this cooking operation at a higher temperature, 120 degrees centigrade. You all know that those who have studied chemistry, we also know what happens if you carry out a reaction at a higher temperature. The reaction occurs faster because the rate constant is much higher. As a result of which, if you allow the cooking to occur at 120 degrees centigrade, rice gets cooked in 10 minutes. If you want to do it in an open flame at atmospheric pressure, maybe it takes 25 to 30 minutes. So if you allow the pressure to maintain, so what I am trying to indicate, you will be able to have savings significantly if you understand the basic underlying principles of carrying out these transformations. So the point which I am trying to make out here, if 60, 70, 80% of the population is still going to use these fuels, is it not our responsibility of an engineer to give them a device which works as efficiently as gas, does not pollute or does not create a smoke, so that I'll be able to save the fuel, I will be able to save the atmosphere in the house, so that no smoke or no particulate matter is there. You all know that, especially in the news items which you see, PM 2.5, PM 10, what are these? These are the particulate matter which gets generated. And you all know to what extent the burning of these particular stubs in the Haryana and Punjab, to what extent that pollution gets translated to Delhi, and how Delhi gets polluted because of the carryover of this particulate matter due to field burnings. So you look at all these and look at the numbers in the brackets. These numbers in the brackets tell you the thermal efficiency. Original 3-stone fire, 8 to 12%, and this is one of the devices which has been developed in the first phase, which has an efficiency about 20 to 25%. What does it mean? Whatever calorific value of the fuel is, only 25% of the calorific value is used in the cooking operation. 75% of the calorific value is wasted into atmosphere. And that is what is contributing to the greenhouse gas. Be it CO2, be it CO, be it SO2, NOx, all these oxidation gases which are coming out, they are coming out as high temperature and they contribute to the greenhouse gas. I'm sure you have learned GHGs, greenhouse gases, right, at 10th, 11th standard. So they are contributing it, but if you are able to control the emissions of that, you would have contributed to the issue of sustainability. But for you to be able to change or bring change in any practice, it is mandatory for you to scientifically understand what that practice is. Try to mathematically model that particular practice. So doing that exercise, we have developed a certain stove. Next, please. This is what the problem which I have already discussed. Next. Now you see the final cooked stove which is indicated in the middle. You see the color of the flame? It's blue. Color of the blue flame is the same type of flame which you see on your LPG gas. Now here we are burning wood, by the way. Right? We are gasifying the wood and burning it. it has a temperature of same temperature as that in your LPG gas stove. A temperature of the flame is in the range of about 1200 to 1300 degrees centigrade. You will never get these temperatures on any of the earlier stoves which are indicated. They are hovering around 650, 750 degrees centigrade. Here you get temperatures of 1300 degrees centigrade. No smoke, no particulate matter, and all this has been developed by physically, chemically understanding what is the combustion process, how this combustion process can be carried out efficiently in terms of the equipment, in terms of its device, so on and so forth. Now you see the device which is like a cylinder which is present in there, that's a stove. But of course, you all know that if a metal gets heated to these temperatures and then it's cooled down, again heated, because every day you are going to use the stove at least for 2 or 3 times a day. The metals also get affected. You have seen what happens to your gas burner if you don't clean it, right? It turns grayish, it turns black, and you need to periodically clean it. At some point of time, you need to discard it and replace it by new. So to take care of that, next please. Just next please. These are numbers. What we have been able to do is we have been able to develop a ceramic mounting. That is a stove made out of ceramic. Now you all know that there are vessels which are available which are microwave proof, and very expensive vessels are there which are actually proof. You can put them on gas, you can put them in microwave, you can put them in oven, and nothing will happen to it. But they are very expensive. So you can't afford to use those. But these, if you understand what those are made up of, then it is also possible for you to develop these using waste raw materials. Because the materials which have been used for the development of these ceramic stoves are your fly ash. That is, after combustion of the coal to produce electrical power, whatever ash which is left from the coal, it's all inorganic. You mix it up with the kaolite and you can develop and mold any of these. It also contains what is called as cenospheres, which are hollow glass balls with a very low thermal conductivity and very low density. So if they make this particular device, you will find a cup which is floating, which is capable of floating on water. So it is lighter. Otherwise, glass, you never see it floating. But here, that means the weight is less. When the weight is less, you know how much energy is going to utilize. mCp delta T. If m is less, mass is less, specific heat is there, delta T remains the same, you will be using lesser amount of energy. So all these can be combined to come up with the devices. So this is the cooker which is developed. This is working on the gas, but effectively it's the same. So you have a stove and you have a companion cooker. Now here again, older, what you can say, wisdom which existed earlier, that we still have pressure cookers in which you put one vessel on top, correct? The bottom you put vessel which is most difficult to cook, and on that relatively easier to cook and relatively easier to cook, correct? But has it been practiced anywhere? Yes, if you get a chance to go and visit the Puri temple or Jagannath Puri temple, daily prasad which has been made for the past 2000 years is made using 21 earthen pots put one on top of another. Only the bottom pot is heated. This particular bottom pot gets heated, it produces steam. That steam heats up the top pot. That top pots get heated, that produces steam, it again heats up the top pot. So steam produced once is capable of using 21 times to cook the material. You can imagine the kind of thermal efficiencies which are getting it. That is 21 times 20. between a technique and a technology. The people use it without really understanding that they say that I have developed a technology. I have a technology to make something. Can anybody tell me what is your understanding between a technique and a technology? Anyone? Whatever comes to your mind, you can. Please, as I said to you, that don't be afraid of failure. So if you give a wrong answer, doesn't matter. It's very easy to make a mistake, but if you don't know that you have made a mistake, you will not be able to rectify that mistake. So it is important for you. Please.
Technique to implement or technology to apply that.
No, technique is also to implement. Technology is always associated with the making of money. Right? Technique you can carry it out in the lab, fine. But when you say that I have developed a technology, you should be able to implement that technique in such a way that you are able to make money. Then only it is technology, not till then. Okay? So essentially, every activity and the analysis which you carry out, its scientific analysis, has to be associated with the economic analysis, economic accounting. Then only the final product will come out and that final product will be used in the market. Okay, and you will be in a position to make some money out of it. Because objective, even if you are going to work as scientist, you require something to eat, you require some money to earn. So scientist doesn't mean that you don't eat anything, you don't do any activity and just go to the lab and work. How will you continue doing that? You need to consume at least 1400 kilocalories. Where are you going to get the money to consume those 1400 kilocalories? So you need to earn something. So what is your priority? You can decide, but to be aware of that is equally important. Next, please. Basic understanding. I'll just go to the next slide. A simple device, a solar dryer. What do you see? Do you see anything complicated out here? Nothing. Right? We just have a ladder. Essentially, it's look like a ladder. Correct? Ladder is coated with black paper. The black paper absorbs the solar radiations. The air in contact with that black paper gets heated, and hot air being of a lesser density as compared to the cold air, it naturally tries to go up. Now, if it goes up, cold air must enter to replace the moving air. So it creates a thermal convective current. And if I allow this hot air to flow over the material to be dried, you can see the things which have been dried. And what you see here, they have been perfectly bone dried without any change in the color. Right? You take this material on the right hand side, dried palak, spinach, or kotimbir, which is coriander, or ladyfingers. Put them back in water. Whatever water which it has lost, it will get picked up and you'll have vegetables as fresh as new green vegetables. What have we done? We have just dehydrated this, but we have dehydrated it in the absence of direct solar radiations. If you have direct solar radiations, what is likely to happen? It is likely to have a bleaching property. Then you know that you have these creams which protect you from sun, doesn't allow you to darken. Similarly, vegetables also get darkened when they are exposed to sun. So you don't allow them directly to expose to sun, but you allow hot air to pass over it. Not too hot, 60 degrees, 70 degrees centigrade air is good enough. You put them in the morning, by evening you have ready. You try it out, you try to make avla supari, and you will have within 8 hours beautiful avla supari, homemade avla supari. Just need to chisel it, put salt and whatever it is, and put it in this particular dryer. You have it ready, available. What I'm trying to indicate again is you have to understand what is the need, what is the environment, what are the techniques which are available to you. And all these are essentially available if you just read and observe. And all this information is available on internet today. But you must show a desire to learn something, to use that, and then use that for your own as well as societal benefit. Next, please. you can do it on a larger scale. You can produce steam using solar energy, and using this particular steam, you can run a refrigeration plant, or you can run an air conditioner. Because all these, now these technologies are available. So if you are in a position to produce steam, you can use steam to produce refrigeration or cooling effect, right? You've heard Joule-Thomson's coefficient. You have learned Joule-Thomson coefficient, that expansion, right, will reduce the temperature. So you can have an expansion valve where the steam is expanded, it reduces the temperature, it condenses, and you can do a similar thing in terms of a refrigerant, which is used in most of the cooling cycles. Next, please. And this is the last part which I'm going to talk about, and then I'm going to stop. I have multiple examples, but I'm not going to talk about that. This is the one which has been talked about, which is a hand pump and making potable water using hand pump. See, till about 80s or so, 90s, I would say, where industrial revolution did happen, but industrial revolution took a quantum jump when the economy opened up in 1992. The number of industries came up to a large extent. The pollution caused by industries also increased. And it was realized at that point of time that till that time, since it is a borewell water, since it is coming from underground, the borewell water is expected to be pure. Nothing is like to get contaminated. But when more and more discharges started going into water bodies, the underground water table also started getting contaminated. As a result of which, you require something not only to pump the water, but also while pumping, you needed to disinfect that water so that you could consume it without causing any diseases such as diarrhea, typhoid, so on and so forth, or cholera. Next. This hand pump, which you see and which your drawing teacher Pandit also mentioned it, was developed in 1952 by a bicycle repairer shop fellow. 1952 in Solapur. Right? He had no formal training, but he understood that the pumping requires using the atmospheric pressure, a two-way mechanism, that is, water needs to be lifted, it needs to be held at some point of time. Then in the second stroke, another water should get lifted from bottom, from the pool to the upper part. So this part, water being incompressible, will get lifted to the top part. And through multiple strokes, so you always find that you don't start getting water when you use a hand pump in first go. Sometimes it hasn't been used for a long period. That entire pipe needs to be filled up. Only after that the water starts coming out. And from 1952 till we started looking at it in early 90s, nobody had done any work on this particular pump except UNICEF, who looked at this particular pump, standardized the dimensions of this pump, and gave it a name as India Mark II hand pump. Right? We looked at this, and we looked at it and said that the design of this particular pump, next please, is such that there is a phenomena which is called as cavitation, which is occurring out there. The cavitation, in simple words, has anybody taken water in a pot and put it on a gas and observed that water when it is brought to boil? Can anybody describe it? Any student? You haven't done any time in kitchen? You haven't gone and made a cup of tea? What happens when you take water in a vessel and put it on a flame? Go ahead.
Bubbles are formed.
Bubbles are formed. Very good. Can you tell me why bubbles are formed?
Because of the heat and pressure. Because of the heat.
Because of heat, what bubbles are those?
Bubbles from the bottom rise to the
But why do bubbles get formed? That's boiling, no? So vapor bubbles are there, they are water vapor bubbles, right? But if you observe it very carefully, you will find that initially only small bubbles are getting formed. As you continue heating, you will find that larger bubbles are getting formed. And when it comes to boiling, you will find big bubbles are bursting on the surface. Am I right? Have you ever listened to it? Next time you listen to it. And you will find that initially it starts making noise as tick, 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 tick. Then as the bubble size increases, it starts making noise, tock, 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 tock. And when it is about to boil, it starts making noise, blob, 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 blob. Now, what difference do you see in tick, 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 tock, 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 and blob, blob, blob? What is changing? Anybody from music, learning music, no? You should be in a position to tell me. Anybody is learning music? Don't you think the frequencies are changing? Initially, you have a high frequency, small bubble, high frequency, then medium frequency, and then low frequency. Correct? Tick, tick, tick. वरचा सा लागला. बरोबर आहे ना? ब्लॉब 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 खालचा सा लागला. Frequency change झाल्या? So this is exactly what is happening in this. And you all know, as the pressure reduces, the boiling point goes down. Very similar to the effect which you talked about earlier. When the pressure increases, boiling point increases. So pressure reduces, boiling point also goes down. So if you reduce the pressure and bring it equal to vapor pressure of water at that temperature, boiling will occur at room temperature. So you create these boiling conditions at room temperature, and what happens to the bubbles when they come to the top, vapor bubbles? They burst. Similarly, these bubbles also burst, but within liquid, within water. And every bubble bursting, which is an implosion, creates extreme conditions of temperatures and pressures. How extreme are these temperatures and pressures? The temperatures in this collapsing bubble have been detected to be in the range of 10 to 12,000 Kelvin. Anybody knows what is the surface temperature of sun? Anybody? Oh, I think I hear something which is about right. About 6 to 7,000 Kelvin. So you are creating conditions in these collapsing bubbles which are twice the temperature which is occurring on the sun. Now, do you think that any microbes will survive that kind of a temperature? So if there is a microbe, a pathogen which is capable of causing a disease, is in the vicinity of such a collapsing cavity, what is going to happen to that microbes? It's going to get completely annihilated. It's going to get completely broken down, killed. So if you are in a position to create these cavitating conditions while the water is being pumped, you will be able to not only pump water but also disinfect water. Right? And that is exactly what has been done by modifying the design. Next, please. So these are the temperature pressure conditions. Next, forget about this for the time being. But this is equally important that if you have a microbes, which is a solid microbe, size of the microbes, pathogens are in the range of about 5 to 10 microns. So if it is in the vicinity of this, it's like somebody is bursting an atom bomb next to your ear. What do you have? What happens to you? You are going to get disoriented. Sometimes the eardrum may also get split. The same thing happens to the microbes in the vicinity of collapsing cavity. Next, please. So this is the basic design of this pump, which has been modified. I think the next shows a sort of a cartoon explaining the basic operational principle. Next, please. Yeah, you can see the cartoon. If I just walk down here, this is the operation of the infected water. You see the bottom is opening in one operation. Don't do it. Don't do anything, otherwise the animation will stop. Just go back and start again. Don't use it now, that's it. When it is moving up, you see the bottom one is opening and the downstroke that's closed. When it is opening out here, the thing is modified in such a way that it creates cavitating conditions. These cavities are experiencing this particular microbes, and these microbes will collapse it. Microbes will collapse it, and these collapsing cavities will kill the microbes, and disinfected water will come out. Right? So this is the simplest of the mechanism. It costs not more than 400 to 500 rupees to modify this pump. The cost of the pump is about 5,000 rupees. You spend 5 or 10% more, spend 500 rupees. Modify just the valve seat of the pumps to make it cavitating hand pump, and you get water disinfectant. Next, please. This is the device. Obviously, we did not have bore well. So what we did, we mounted the hand pump on the 3rd floor and took water in a drum which is on the bottom floor. So it's equivalent to pumping it, and we could operate it. You can see here, right? The last one where the water is being pumped, because we wanted to do the experiments and see. Next, please. So I'll stop here just telling you a story. Obviously, the proof of the pudding is in its eating. That means I may be doing everything in the lab, but it needs to have a social acceptability. So fortunately, I have few students who come from rural area, and they are quite influential. Say politicians as that. They are also influential. So one of my PhD student went and talked to the Sarpanch of the house, saying Sarpanch of that village, and he said that we have developed something. You allow us to put this new pump in the place where you already have a pump. All expenses are ours, and let us use it for a week. We will collect samples and see how it functions. And if you are not happy, we'll put back your old pump. So after a week, we go there. The Sarpanch was not initially willing, was very reluctant. Are kashala karaycha hai, mate kaya hoil, amuk hoil, tamuk hoil. Somehow we managed to convince him. After a week, we go there. He says, sir, azun ek athwadabhar rahu dena. Went again next week. Sir, azun ek athwada rahu de. And this went on for 5 weeks. And I stopped and asked him, now, initially you were not even willing to put up. Now you don't. So he finally said that, sir, rahu dena pump tumi navi dusra gyana. That you were not even willing to put it up, and now you don't want us to take it back. He said, we have been using this water from this pump alone only for drinking purposes. In the past 1 month, we haven't had a single diarrhea case in the village. That was the proof that whatever experiments which you do in the lab is fine. Right? But ultimately, the proof of pudding is in its eating. So ultimately, that gave us a confidence that this particular device can be expanded, can be propagated, can be popularized. Next, please. Just next. This just tells you, on the left-hand side, the water which is not treated. On the right-hand side, you see water which is treated. And you see the reduction in the number of pathological microbes which are present in it. Right? So we could now do it later on, and as a result of which a validation of that is also there. Now you see 3-log reduction, 99.84% reduction in the microbial count from that particular water could be obtained by using a modified hand pump. This is where I'll stop. If you have any queries, questions, welcome to do that. Maybe after a few months, I'll come again and we'll talk about rest of the innovations which are there.
I think yesterday they talked about this yesterday's budget. there was a mention about modification of, this type of, is it being, by name being used, this technology?
By name meaning,
Meaning attributed to your innovation or your.
a cavitating hand pump is
Yes.
what it is being promoted as.
Yes, yes.
Now, we have had multiple presentations, including PMO's office, as well as including Maharashtra state government.
Well, I would be interested in finding out how the general public and others have received this. What has been the feedback? I mean, I wanted to boast a little.
Yeah, okay, I'll do that. See, my essential object is essentially to develop products. Now, there is a startup which has been made by my students who have been involved in this, called Germ Safe Technology.
Okay.
And they are in the process of modifying these hand pumps and supplying these hand pumps. And they are trying to popularize it. It is also possible for you to put a similar devices in the regular water pumping, water purification plants.
Okay.
In fact, I had given a proposal to municipal corporation saying that you are pumping water from way up Badsa and water treatment plants using these huge pipelines. Then it is brought to Mulund water treatment plant, where the pressure needs to be reduced because it cannot be treated at the supply pressure, where you use a hydrostatic head which is probably 10-15 bar. You cannot use it, needs to be brought back. So I said that put a pressure reduction station, which is a cavitating pressure reduction station, as a result of which your microbial count will go down and you will use only a small percentage of chlorine or
Yes.
other disinfectant. So disinfection byproducts, which are known as carcinogenic byproducts, should be completely avoided. But you know how municipal corporations work. The interest is not in cleaning the water, interest is in something else. So
Correct.
never get that.
This is an opportunity, I think, for us now.
Sure. I think anybody wants to try it out, feel free. If any village which you are associated with, where you see a hand pump, ask them and contact me. Okay.
8 to 9 students list. I received a student list who wants to ask question.
Yeah, sure.
Chetan, please pass the mic. Sampata Bhate wants to ask a question.
Good afternoon, sir. So there is a gap between the current education pattern and business and industry's requirement. So how the gap should be filled in?
To be honest with you, the gap can only be filled in when the subjects are not taught keeping examination in mind, but subjects are taught to check the understanding of the subject. The teacher should take a special effort. What is taught in the class is different because the class objective is not necessarily to teach you. The objective of classes, outside classes, is essentially train you to get good marks. But this needs to be changed by the teachers and the students themselves. One student should continue to bother and trouble the teacher by asking questions. And teacher should go that extra mile to answer those questions. I'm not saying the teacher will be in a position to answer the question immediately, but that should not prevent the teacher to going back and studying and then answering the question. So understanding of the subject is more important than marks. And especially even if you get first class mark, and if you are unable to answer questions at the time of interview, that first class has no value. And that's why they say that we can't find people who are good enough.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, sir. My question is to you. How does advancement in science improve technology? And secondly, what societal problem is done by science and technology to address or respond to?
And this is a very fundamental question, right? Why I'm saying that you should question it to yourself. How old are you? Maybe 16, right? In the past 60 years, if you have been observant enough, can you tell me what was available to you when you were maybe 6, 7, 8 years old and 16 years old? What things have changed? And ask yourself a question is why those things have changed? What technological contribution has changed those things? Forget the internet part of it, but other part, that is actual manufacturing activity, the equipments which are available. There has been a sea change in this, and this is all attributed to the development of technology. And technology is only supporting that advancement of the science. You spend money in developing science. You don't have money all the time just to keep supporting science. Unless that science gets converted to technology, technology is able to make money, then part of that money you can put back into science to develop science further. That's a vicious cycle. So it's like asking what came first, chicken or the egg. Science and technology go hand in hand.
Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon, sir. As we all know,
Hold the mic near you.
as we all know, 73% of our atmosphere consists of nitrogen gas. So my question is, what's the role of nitrogen gas in our atmosphere?
What's the role of nitrogen gas? Without nitrogen, we will not survive. Right? All your amino acids, all the nitrogen fixation which is carried out by the bacteria which are in the soil. That's the only way plants are in a position to take up nitrogen from the atmosphere. And when you don't have sufficient nitrogen fixation, bacteria, you realize the fact that you need to supplement it with nitrogenous fertilizers such as urea. Right? So nitrogen, and how the urea is made? It is using atmospheric nitrogen combined with hydrogen to make ammonia, and then that ammonia is converted into urea. So that is the way you are using nitrogen from the atmosphere itself. So you do it synthetically to produce synthetic fertilizers, or you do it naturally by using nitrogen fixing bacteria in the soil.
Good afternoon, sir.
Afternoon.
Sir, my question is that is time travel possible for us in future?
What is the concept of time travel? Are you talking about time travel in terms of physical transportation?
Yes.
Right. Why is it necessary? I mean, if you are given the powers, so to speak, to do the time travel, what would you like to change? Obviously, you want to go in future, you want to go back. Future. Who knows future? How do you want to know? Future might be all doom and gloom. Why do you want to go into the future? With the way currently we are practicing technology and exploiting resources, I see future of mankind is really disaster. It's a disaster in making. Whatever you see now in terms of these floods and storms and cyclones and hurricanes is because of imbalances which are created in the nature. So I would not venture into going to the future, but I would go back and see what I could have done things differently, which did not bring us to this particular situation today. What it really means that things have not been so desperate even if you realize that things can be changed in future, that realization is most important. That's why you'll find many big industries now are looking into their operations which can be carried out sustainably. Right? There is a book, if you get a chance, you try to read that book, which is published by MIT Press, which is called as Limits to Growth. To what extent we can keep growing? Every time we say economy should grow by 8.5%, 9%, 10%. Till when? Cannot have continuous growth. It's just not possible. Thermodynamically, it is impossible. Right? It's like asking a question. There is a, there used to be a question. There is a pond in which there is one lotus which grows twice its size. On the 50th day, it is occupying the entire pond. Right? On a 49th day, it's only occupying half the pond. And we do not realize that tomorrow that it is going to occupy the entire pond. Exponential growth, and that's exactly what we need to understand. But lot of awareness is happening in this particular area. There have been journals which are devoted to green chemistry, sustainable chemistry, sustainable engineering practices, sustainable manufacturing practices, circular economy, and all these areas will not necessarily make you think to go on time travel. You are here, you are present here. Ask what you can do today based on what your abilities and what your willingness is. Thank you.
I am Atare. If any teachers want to ask a question, please raise your hand.
Sir, I want to say something. He asked about if time travel is possible. Yes, time travel is possible if you go ahead of the light speed. For now, it's not possible, but in future we can try to reach ahead of the light. If we reach ahead of the light, it is possible to time travel.
But I think you must ask yourself a question: what are you going to do by doing time travel?
No, sir. As he asked,
No, that's okay. So I think you have studied Einstein's theory of relativity, general as well as special theory of relativity. You understand the concept of time dilation. You understand the concept of dimensional changes as a result of at what pace you are moving, right? And you know time dilation as well as you've heard many of these science fiction stories. If you read Dr. Jayant Narlekar's books, you will find many such events which are essentially time-dependent event. Now, in terms of technology, it is not possible as of today. But if you ask me, if you look at the ancient science or ancient Indian wisdom, the kind of yogic practices which were taught at that point of time, they were Siddha Purush, as they call it, who had that capability to move on across the three lokas, across the time. Narad Muni was known to be able to travel anywhere, anytime, right? And that is only because of the yogic siddhis which he developed. So there is internal mechanism which is within you. See, in terms of modern science, you are thinking in terms of modern science, but there is a lot of Indian wisdom still available, and you should read it.
Yes.
Thank you.
My question is, what is the cause by now scientific and technological development? Do you think the development of science is good or sometimes bad?
Development of science is always good, but to what extent that technology is like when Einstein developed the theory of relativity and Bohr came up with the model of atom, and then atom was successfully split. Now you could use it to produce atom bomb, but you could also use it to produce nuclear-based electricity. And you have to decide how you are going to use that particular technology, right? So I think Einstein regretted this particular fact later on in his life, that I have created a monster. I should not have done it. But any single person saying that doesn't stop the advancement of science, because the advancement of science depends upon the human curiosity. And as long as that curiosity is alive, the science will continue to develop. Now, how we use that science using technology is a collective wisdom of the society. If we want to destroy ourselves, we will destroy ourselves.
There were still many questions in the mind of students, but due to time limit, we cannot continue this question. But definitely, students, your question will mail to sir, and sir will definitely clear your doubts. So thank you very much, sir.
What we'll do is we'll have one more session, maybe when I think 11th and 12th, no?
Yeah.
Maybe after your exams are over, right? We'll meet at leisure. There's no time limit. Maybe one afternoon, spend the time trying to answer your questions and many of the other slides which I haven't used it.
Very, very interesting.
Thank you.
We are grateful for the time and effort you took to share your thoughts and experiences with us. Now, I request our Honorable Treasurer, Shri Akshar Parasne sir, to say about today's program. See, first of all, I thank all the teaching staff or principal of junior college, Dr. Seema Hardikar, in arranging this particular program. I am much overwhelmed by listening to the teaching or thoughts he has given to you. He has given a direction to you. Explore yourself, have an analysis, think in depth. That's the thing. I think questions are also being asked by our students. I am also happy to notice that here. And for giving answers to some questions which are to be answered, he has also agreed to make himself available in the next lecture. That I am much thankful to him. I am much thankful to all the dignitaries who have also come along with him. I am much thankful to Satam sir, Suhas Satam sir, and really from management side, we are happy that such type of programs should be arranged, and this is the success of arranging this today's program. I'm much thankful. I'm happy, and it's with new dimension, new thought. All the students will think over, will question themselves, and let us make a progress and how to use the science to the extent which will be in the interest of the society in general. That's the education which we have got, what I personally feel. Thank you all. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir. And now we are towards the end of this session. So I request our coordinator, Professor Sanjay Chaudhary sir, to propose the vote of thanks.
Thank you, sir. Now at the end of today's these seminars, on behalf of Anand Vishya Gurukul Junior College and National Center for Science Communicators, I would like to say thank you to our today's speakers and the chief guest, Honorable Vice Chancellor ICT, Dr. Aniruddha Pandit, Honorable Director KET Scientific Research Center, Dr. Siddhivinayak Barve, Honorable former Senior Editor Times of India, Mr. Vittal Nadkarni, Honorable former Senior Honorable former Senior Editor Times of India, Mr. Vittal Nadkarni, Honorable General Secretary NCSC, Mr. Suhas Naik Satams, Honorable President of ACC, Sri Vilas Tuse sir, Honorable Secretary of ACC, Dr. Pradeep Dhawa sir, Honorable Treasurer of ACC, Parasnik sir, Honorable Management of ACC, Honorable Principal AVC Junior College, Dr. Seema Hardikar Madam, Vice Principal Deepika Talati Madam, Supervisor Sachina Begaukar sir, our Technical Head Mr. Gautam sir, art teachers, Pandit sirs, all the teachers, non-teaching staffs, NCE candidate, dear students and others who joined with us by Zoom and YouTube, thanking you. Now, these sessions will be ended by national anthem. Everybody has request, please stand for national anthem.
Many thanks to you all for inviting me, giving me an opportunity to say a few things and tell you the advancement of science and technology in its future. If any one of you also gets admitted into ICT in the coming academic year, I think my objective would have been achieved. Thank you.
जनगणमन जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंधु गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल गंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष माने गाहे तव जय गाथा जनगण मंगल नायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे.
And with this, with the permissions of Honorable Dais, here I declare that the today's seminar is over. Once again,